Christy.
Hi, Claire.
Thanks so much for joining me today.
Yeah, I'm really happy to be a part of this. Anything you do I would jump over anything to be a part of. I am so in awe of you.
That's very complimentary. Wow. So how's the weather out in Redding today? Redding, California.
Redding, California. Today, well, it is probably going to be about 75 and sunny. So yeah, basically perfect.
So basically perfect.
Yeah, basically perfect. So sweater in the morning, and you could do shorts and a t-shirt in the afternoon. This is our happy time, because in the summer it gets really, really hot. So, and then we thankfully had a ton of rain this year, so it was rainy all winter. So we're really, yeah.
And so,
what about Argentina?
Oh, well, we just moved into fall, so we're doing great here. We had a super hot summer, and now we're all excited because it's a little rainy, but it's cool, and we love that, and so
yeah.
Fun. Do you guys get snow in Redding?
When we do, it's a disaster because there's like 2 snowplows.
Right.
So yeah, we get them in the mountains. We'll go, you go 5 minutes, because we're at the tip of the Sacramento Valley. We're surrounded by mountains on 3 sides. So the mountains all will get snow, and sometimes it comes down to 2,000 feet. But I'm basically sea level here, like the river's out my back window.
Okay.
So yeah, Sacramento River.
Perfect. Well, I just want to read your bio for folks who don't already know and love you. So Christy Largent is an opportunity expert focused in the areas of opportunity mindset and employee engagement. Her clients would tell you she is obsessed with helping people maximize opportunities so they can perform at higher levels together at both work and home. Her clients include Rolling Hills Casino, Shasta Regional Medical Group, Teamwork HR, the McConnell Foundation, Members First Credit Union, Interwest Financial Services, and IBB Design, and they all describe Christy as enthusiastic, motivating, energetic, and authentic, my favorite. Christy is the co-host of the PBS TV show The Forum. She has a podcast called Encouraging Words for Working Moms, and she's the author of the best-selling book 31 Positive Communication Skills for Women. Christy also provides one-on-one opportunity mindset coaching and mentoring, and is launching both her 30-day Opportunity Mindset Intensive and her Opportunity Mindset Academy in 2016. When she isn't speaking or coaching clients, When she isn't speaking or coaching clients, you can find Christy sneaking in a new book, workout, or maybe a quick lunch with her husband in between chauffeuring her school-age kids to and from lacrosse and soccer practices. She and her family live in Northern California. In her free time, she enjoys reading, improv acting, singing, and playing with the kids. Improv acting. That's cool.
Yeah. Wow. We have a really great little improv troupe here, and I'm like in and out, mainly because the kids pull my spare time so much. It's a different world, as our viewers know. When you have kids, as you know, everything gets upside down. So I was a lot more consistent with the improv group before kids.
Yeah.
So, but it's fun.
Yes.
Really, that's one of those things that just came about, and I'm like, that sounds interesting, and I think I may be a better communicator if I can learn how to respond authentically, right, in the moment, well. And that's exactly what improv does for you.
I love that. Okay, so I want to ask you about positivity. I know this is something that you really believe is really essential to kind of living your best life and feeling your best and, excelling at whatever your path is. And you have this quote where you say, you've said, nothing spirals downward faster than a negative environment. And I'm just wondering if you could sort of talk me through this and what it means to you, and if you've always known this, or if this has sort of been a journey that you've had to kind of learn.
Well, in full disclosure, I think I was born pretty optimistic. I mean, my mother always tells the story when I was like 3, I had the chicken pox, and I was walking down the hall, and it was around Easter time, and there was a big stuffed bunny in the hallway, and I stopped and looked at the bunny and said, "Easter bunny, I have chicken pox. Isn't that nice?" So I think there's a little bit of positivity just like in me, right?
Sounds like it.
It's how God made me, right? So however, our culture really is not that positive of a culture. If, in case anyone's happened to follow presidential politics in this year of 2016, I mean, for Pete's sake.
I'm on Twitter,
Oh my gosh, we are bombarded with negativity, and we're also bombarded with not enoughness, not good enough, not smart enough, not pretty enough, not clever enough, not thin enough, not rich enough. And that starts at an early age. And those of you with children know Instagram is, that's a whole nother thing, right? So we're bombarded with this. And what happened to me is I'm 5'3". I'm not very tall. I always wanted to be taller, right? Because all the models, which I just loved that whole world, which is, talk about the irony. I loved fashion. I loved following the models. I mean, this will date me, of course. Charlie's Angels was in the 70s, and they were just so beautiful, and I just wanted to look like them, and I wanted to be like them, right? Well, I'm 5'3". I'm round. I'm like French country stock. I'm not the svelte type of person who would be mistaken for a model on any of my good days, and especially my bad days. Well, all that is to say, I always wanted to be somebody that I wasn't. I wanted to be taller. I wanted to be blonder. I'm a brunette. I'm short. I'm round. Okay, so every time I looked in the mirror, I was like, oh my gosh, Christy, if you were tall, if you were round, if you were blonde, if you were thin, then your teachers would like you better. You would get better grades. The boys would like you. You would have boys that were interested in you. You would, fill in the blank. And I would tell myself this out loud. And I don't even like to say it now because I do not say any of this anymore. I had to kind of I was probably... I don't really, honestly, Claire, I'm not sure when the transition happened in my life where I went from this negative self-talk to stopping, no negative. Like yesterday I heard a lady, where were we? Oh, I can't even remember if it was I was in a meeting or something, and she stood up and she said, well, this always goes wrong for me. She verbalized that negativity.
Wow.
I'm like, no, negative.
Wow.
Even if I am addicted to sugar, I'm not going to say that. I'm going to go, in the past, there has been times when I ate too much sugar.
Yeah.
Right? And it's all in how you're framing it. So to answer your question, this negative spiral, you start looking in the mirror saying, you're so stupid, you are so ugly, you are so whatever. And you're telling yourself that. That negativity just spirals down, down, down. There's no good that comes from that. So you really have to stop and say, you just stop. There's no other solution but stop. And you reframe your thinking from the negative to the positive. You know what? I'm so glad, my favorite now is, I'm so glad I have these sturdy legs that will carry me many, many years into the future, right? Because I don't have skinny legs, but I have really sturdy, strong legs. And so it's reframing it from, gosh, my legs aren't like a model's or whatever, to I have really strong, healthy legs. I have strong, sturdy legs. So even something as silly as that is all about how you're framing it. So at work, you're like, your boss never gives you the good assignments. You don't say that. You're like, oh my gosh, in the past, I haven't got the assignments I wanted, but I'm going to work to so that I'm the first one my boss thinks of on the next assignment, right? Or I always have trouble with this coworker. I can never get along with her because she is so controlling. I just can't stand being around her. And instead of that, you're like, gosh, I'm glad she has leadership qualities, right? And I'm going to be sure that I answer her really in a strong way so she doesn't think I'm slacking off. Because we know people who are control freaks, they just think nobody can do it like they can, right? And they always want to tell you how to do it. And they always the number one is they want to make sure someone's in control. So when they talk to you and you're wishy-washy, it makes them worse, makes them more controlling, right? So we know this. And so we're going to say, yeah, I'm going to choose to be stronger when I have to deal with her because that way she'll back off, right? Then I have a better environment with her. As long as she knows I'm in control, then I'm able to work better with her. So that's setting that mindset for that positive environment.
Wow. So Okay, I think this is a good time then to talk about kind of the four personalities. I mean, you just, were referencing one of them, but if you could just sort of talk us through what the four personalities are and sort of how they relate to, I mean, just as the example you provided, being successful in a given interaction is all about kind of understanding the personalities.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay. So I am going to try to make it very simple. This topic goes so deep and so broad and so old. Hippocrates was the first one who talked about the four humors inside of a person. They thought it was the liquid inside of you, right? Well, we know now it's not. But the irony is that of all the personality things, we still come out with basically four kind of people, right? So you have your I'm so glad we're going to do this. I didn't know we were going to get to do this. Yay. I'm going to make myself a little note here. So if you start with like Susie Sunshine, all right, her personality, she's always happy. She's like, she drives you crazy because she comes in Monday morning and she's like, good morning. Oh, I'm so happy to be here. You're like, shut up.
Right.
I haven't had my coffee yet. Right. So that's like Susie Sunshine or Sally Sunshine. And she's your sanguine in the old verbiage of, the Greek verbiage. She would be the sanguine personality. I call her yellow because she's so cheerful and happy, right? That's the color of her. I kind of think of her. And if you were thinking of quadrants, she would be on your top left. Okay. Right? On your bottom right of the quadrant would be your perfect Pete. Okay, we'll just call him that. I call them different things. He's blue. Okay. He's a perfectionist. His desire is for perfection in everything. Okay. He's your analyst. He's a slow processor. He wants all the details. Oh my gosh, there's no such thing as too many details. Right? And when you worked at Twitter, my guess is you had a ton of perfect Pete's. Because these guys, they're engineers. We want them to be perfect, right? We want our doctors to be perfect, right? Right. So they're exact opposite of the Sally Sunshine. And my guess is you probably didn't have many of the sanguines in your tech world because they tend to not be analytic processors, right? So they're the opposite. So you picture them kind of counter across from each other. So on the top right and kind of next to Sally Sunshine is your powerful, what do we call him? I call her Action Annie. You can also call him Powerful Paul, for lack of a better word. This person is your control freak. Their red is the color for them. They definitely want everything to be in control. It's not so much that they are in control, although they like being in control. It's that someone is in control. Okay. So, for example, you have a lot of bosses who are this. We got Donald Trump is like your classic powerful personality. I mean, he's telling everybody what to do, right? Because nobody can do it as well as he can. Right. And and then you have I just had a new brainwave. That's scary of the personality. I hadn't thought of the personalities with the presidential people, but it's so clear. Like John Kasich is so opposite of that powerful Paul, right? He's in the opposite bottom corner. He's green. He's the phlegmatic. He's easygoing. He's like your relaxed Rachel. Okay, relaxed Rachel. She's green. The only thing she hates is conflict. The only thing she hates is conflict. She is so easygoing. Like. Their motto is why stand when I can sit and why sit when I can lie down. Right. I've heard that. Like I was on a board with the board president one time on this association, and we're in the middle of our board meeting, and I look over and he has gotten up and he is laying down on the sofa in the room. That's amazing. I was like, oh my gosh, he's so phlegmatic, right? Amazing. He's just so easygoing. That's John Kasich. Never raised voice, always calm like this, right? So the thing with the powerful people, and when you're working with them, they want to be in control. They can cause a lot of turmoil, right? Because they love conflict, right? They're opposite the green. So the greens hate conflict. They shut down. They disengage. They will not be a part of anything, right? If you come at them and you're like, where's that report? I expected it here. Why isn't it here? I need it right now. You come at them like that, they're going to shut down, right? And I liken it to a turtle, right? What happens when a turtle feels stressed, right? The head comes in, the shell comes down, Sorry, getting too excited
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
They shut down, and there's no amount of kicking or pushing or prodding that's going to get them to move or engage. So when you have this in a workplace, it's toxic. And talk about negative work environment. The most negative work environments I've had is when people don't understand these styles and they're constantly pushing and shoving at each other. There was a company I worked with down in LA, and it was a medical company. They had hired their front desk person as a Sally Sunshine, right? Okay. Super happy. Right. Hey, welcome to the office. I'm so glad you're here. Right. Big smile, right? Very disorganized. She was losing papers. They did not have a good system in place for her to follow. And she doesn't naturally think in systems. So she was falling apart. So they're like, okay, I can't take this. We are going to have to move her to the back. We're going to let her do filing so she can really learn how to be organized. Okay. Can you spell disaster any other way? Wow. I mean, talk about putting somebody out of their field of strength.
Right.
You know, she wants everything to be fun. How fun is filing? For a yellow. Now, a blue would love filing because everything would be meticulous and in a little system, right? But that is a toxic, negative environment. She started being late to work. She was taking long lunches. She was gossiping. She was not getting her work done. I'm like, well, of course. You put her in the very thing that she is guaranteed to fail at. Get her back up front. Give her a system. She will flourish. So it's so powerful because you think people like Claire. I'm sure we think everybody should be just like I am.
Sure.
Right? If everybody were like me, well then, okay. Sure. Right. But the thing is, we're also different. And I know this is like a super oversimplification, but it holds so true. It holds true with how do they handle conflict. If you have an organization that doesn't know how to handle conflict well, you have a sick, negative organization, right? Because the Reds want to control everybody and tell everybody what to do. The Blues just want everything calm. They want the job to get done. They want they don't want any conflict either. They want to just get things done perfectly, right? So they don't have time for the conflict. They just withdraw. The Greens over here, they really withdraw and they disengage and they just don't show up for work, right? Because they can't handle it. And the Yellows are like just off making a party wherever they go. They don't care and they're causing more turmoil and stress. And of course, they're not getting any work done. So that's a totally disengaged workforce.
So understanding our own personalities and understanding the personalities around us, then I assume is basically essential in terms of us trying to achieve any kind of success that we want to achieve,
I think
right?
so. I think so. And I think finding a book that really helps it be super clear that this subject gets like people who do the Myers-Briggs, the Kiersey-Bates, the really analytical systems, which is what most businesses pull in and do. Right. I mean, I appreciate where they're coming from that because you have all this validation, you have all this research that shows it. But what I have found missing is the application. And for me, the application is everything. Like I had totally studied the personalities when I was married the first time, and I still ended up with a disastrous divorce that hit me blindsided. I was doing everything, quite honestly, I was doing everything to drive my husband at the time away from me because I did not understand this. I had studied the personalities. I knew he was ESTJ. I was INFJ. I got the lingo. It did nothing for me. But if you say to me, Christy, he's green. Do not speak in a loud voice. Lower your voice, lower your intensity. You're going to have so much better engagement with him. I'm like, oh, I can do that. I can reframe my message, right? So that I deliver it in a package that he can handle. My sister-in-law is really green and that relaxed Rachel. And she said, Christy, you can tell me anything if you tell me in a nice tone of voice.
Wow.
Right? Without intensity.
Knowing
but
yourself.
What happens? Yeah. Don't be, myself is super loud, super intense, super excited. But when I come across that way to somebody who's not, I just drive wedges. Right? So you have to go, who am I? What's my normal way of communicating and connecting? And then how about the people around me? What do they need from me? And that's the angle I love to go at it is what do they need from me? How can I deliver into their style? Like into their style instead of just out of my own.
So what's a good book for folks to learn more about the 4 personalities and more importantly, how to apply them?
Yes. Florence Littauer wrote the book that really changed my life, and it's called Personality Plus. Okay. It's Littauer, I think. Florence Littauer. It's old. I think she wrote it in the late 70s. Okay. And it has a Christian angle on it. So you have to know that going in. But I'll tell you, that to me is the most practical book on the subject. They've also written, they did an update, but I would start with that. And she has Personality Plus for parents, Personality Plus for couples, and Personality Plus. So those are the 3 that I would start with the Personality Plus, though. Okay. I love that book. It really changed my life. And I've taught it to literally thousands and thousands of people. Now, I will tell you, she has a very negative view of greens. Why do you think? Because she's red. So she calls lazy. And then the first time I ever taught this, I taught it to my family. And my brother-in-law was there. And he's really green. He's a pilot. He's super blue-green, right?
You have a lot of greens in your family.
We married greens because my family of origin is all red. We're all combinations. Clearly we're combinations, right? But I'm really red. I'm really yellow red. And so anyway, as I taught it, he goes, Christy, you're really negative on greens. And I don't think that's very nice. And of course, he threw the whole baby out with the bathwater because he's very blue also. Sure. But I will tell you, she tends to be more negative on greens than I think greens are so important and so valuable, and we all need them in their life. It's not that they're wrong. They just do it differently, right? They're going to do the project differently. Like John Kasich was very effective as an Ohio governor. He goes about it extremely differently than a Ted Cruz or Hillary Clinton or Marco Rubio. I mean, clearly. Right? Or Donald Trump. Yeah.
Okay, this is really interesting. So I think this may be shifting gears a little bit, but I want to really ask you about the grace advantage and what the grace advantage is, because I was reading about it and just I was fascinated by it, but also really convicted by it. And I'm just wondering if you could sort of tell people about what it means.
Oh, gosh, thank you for asking. Another thing I didn't know you were going to ask about. I haven't talked about this in a long time. I've been so focused on getting the opportunity mindset out there. Okay, so the grace advantage is being willing to give people grace, right? So I want to do it my way, and I want it done my way. But I also know that life is complicated for all of us, right? And so what do we find in the workplace? How it would look is this, like, your coworker comes in and it's the beginning of the day and you walk by her office and she's working in her office. You stick your head in and you're like, hey, good morning. And she's like, whatever. She just kind of blows you off and you're like, whoa, what's her problem? Right. And what you don't realize is that she had a really horrible morning and she, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And you immediately judge, right? What's her problem? And so then you're like, go out to your other coworker and you're like, what's the problem with Debbie in there? She's a jerk to me this morning or whatever, right? So that's a really negative thing that happens. Right. What does Debbie really need? She had a horrible morning. Her kid was sick. The teacher's class is calling. They're supposed to be picking her. She's supposed to pick her up, but she doesn't know how she can go do that because there's this report that's due. And real life is messy and difficult. And we all have these ups and downs, right? So what Debbie needs right then is grace. She needs you to pop her head in. And when she goes like, whatever, you're like, is there anything I can do to help this morning? That's grace in action, right? And the funny thing is when we choose to live that way, where we're choosing to say, okay, listen, I'm going to overlook the fact that you were just nasty to me. And I'm going to offer to be kind to you. Is there something I could do to help you? Right. And the beauty in living like that is that, well, I think it's a better way to live. Of course, I want to live that way. I don't always, but I would like to live that way, like with my children, especially with my children when they're screaming and killing each other. I need to offer them grace. But the next day, guess who might be the person needing the grace?
Right.
Yeah. And then it kind of, because you've modeled it, because that's the way you choose to live, they may be more inclined to offer it to you. Now, there's no guarantee they will, but they might. So like anything, it's always right to do the right thing. Now, this doesn't mean you're like the doormat that gets walked on. That's not what I'm saying. I think you definitely need to have clear boundaries, make sure that, if if every day they're coming over to your desk and they're like, oh my gosh, I didn't get this report done. Can you finish it up for me? That's not, it's one thing if it happens once, but when it starts going on and on, you don't enable that. Right. That's enabling, right? So I think that grace is this really kind of, you have to live it to know when it's appropriate and when it's not. Because people always want like a hard fast, when do I do grace and when do I stop doing grace? I'm always like, well, when do you want to stop getting grace?
When do you want to stop getting grace? Wow.
Yeah.
That's so interesting.
So I think authenticity is a part of that. And that's a hard thing because we all want to look like the Instagram picture.
Right.
Right. And so I think there's a difference between authenticity and like verbal diarrhea, right? Where you just like, this is so not appropriate.
Yeah.
But I think being authentic with people so they know, golly, life is it's not a picture. I mean, sometimes it is, but it's not all the time.
So
right.
How does authenticity, so you obviously you believe so much in positivity, and the way we speak to ourselves and the way we speak to others sort of helps determine our success and our happiness and fulfillment.
Right.
So how does that connect to authenticity? How do you,
yeah,
if you're having
like
a terrible day or, right.
Right. Not everybody's Susie Sunshine, right? And everybody has bad days.
Right.
And I think, well, gosh, isn't it kind of go back to the same thing of treating others the way you'd want to be treated? And I always say with personalities, treat them the way they want to be treated. But when it comes to being authentic, I think there's nothing in the world wrong with saying, you know what, I'm not having a very good day, so I'd really like to have this conversation tomorrow.
Right.
That's not, instead of saying, well, why are you pushing me to have this conversation now, which is like an attack mode. Instead, you're like, gosh, I'm not having a good day. I'm not thinking straight. I would really like to have this conversation tomorrow.
Right. Right.
So do you hear, I think the difference there is just really that you're being authentic with who you are. Right. And I think there's an element of respect that comes in there, because if someone comes to me and says, Christy, I appreciate your enthusiasm, but that last project you did was missing some really key details that I needed you to include. I mean, that's being authentic, right? As a manager,
right.
And it's not attacking, but it's saying, look, I know you're not a detail person, but I need you to do details on this.
And so I guess just kind of as one sort of last question, what about authenticity with ourselves? So how do we, I mean, right, when it comes to this idea of sort of positivity and authenticity, how does that, I mean, we hear a lot about, you shouldn't be engaged in negative self-talk, or, you need to be positive with yourself if you want to get where you want to be. But how do we also be authentic with ourselves?
Yeah. Well, I think part of it is recognizing who you are and saying, I'm not Susie Sunshine, but I can also stop the negative self-talk. I can be, like my sister says, Christy, I'm just looking at what's real rather than what's fake and in la la land. Right. Right. Because she's not, she's very blue. She's got all this detailed part of her personality. Yep. So here's the thing though. I'm not saying turn into Susie Sunshine, but I am saying control the way that you set yourself up. Like if you feel this is Eeyore to the T. Oh my gosh, I hope today goes well, but it's probably not, because it never does. And I know my tail's going to fall off because it always does. Right? Okay, so that's okay. But catch yourself and say, you know what, this is not helping me. I don't want to be that person. No, let me rephrase. Let me take those words back. It's not that I don't want to be that person. It's I know that mindset does not serve me well. Right? So, okay, in the past, I may have, in the past, these behaviors may have happened, but I think I can move forward in a different direction. Right? So like you saying, I hope this person is prepared for the interview, but she probably won't be, because I can kind of tell she's flaky or whatever. You're like, okay, you know what? I think this is going to be a really positive interview, and I think I'm going to find some really good nuggets in here that are really going to help the people watching. So do you hear the difference? It's like I'm authentic because I do want it to be a really good interview, And I will catch all the details. I'm authentic with that. But it's just, I'm not going to let myself go down that negative spiral. Let's pull out the truths. And that really helps when I'm working with blues, for them to say, let me identify what are the real what's true. Because a lot of times I see that downward spiral happens, and you're not telling yourself the truth. I see this with my daughter or my son the other day. He's like, I go, why don't you call Grampy and ask him to sponsor you for your jogathon? He's like, no, I'm not going to call him. He's not going to sponsor me. I'm like, how do you know? Right? He was telling himself this negative lie. Right. You don't know. Right. Of course Grampy's going to sponsor him, but he didn't. He was not thinking straight. Right? And I think that's what sometimes happens, is you think in this negative spiral without saying, wait, what's the truth? Does your grandfather love you? Yes, your grandfather loves you. Is your grandfather able to support you with some money? Yes, my grandfather's able to support me with some, right? So there's the truth in it. So you're still being authentic. I think you're maybe even being more authentic because you're pushing away the lies and you're getting to the nugget of the truth of who you really are and what's really true. And that's for all the personalities. We all have to do that. Instead of just believing like the easy thing, we have to dig a little and say, what's really true here?
Wow. That's so powerful. Goodness. Can you tell people what you're working on now and where people can find you, and just sort of, tell us all your deeds?
Oh golly. Well, I'm a work in progress, to be perfectly true. This has been a kind of a hard year. I ended up getting sick in March, and the whole month just went, I don't know. I lost like 4 weeks, which is not like me at all. So I'm kind of behind, but really I'm trying to provide more opportunity mindset resources. I really want to focus on that because I see a lot of disengaged and kind of sick, toxic workplaces that could really benefit from everybody being on board with really helping each other function at high levels so that goals are achieved. So I really want to do that. Everything will be on my website at ChristyLargent.com. It's just my name. And, Claire, the part that is probably so easy for you, the technical part, is the part that I'm kind of stuck with, like getting my video edited and getting it on my website. And it should be like no-brainers, right? But in my life, those are the things that have sort of been, I've allowed. You can hear how I'm doing my self-talk right now as I'm saying it, right? In the past, I have let those things hold me back, but I'm hoping in the next few weeks that I'll get everything really up, and hopefully, actually, by the time we watch this, the website will have some video on it, and I really do want to do my opportunity mindset, the upcoming resources to help people live in that. So I've got a 7-day reset that is in the process of being edited, and so that should be available. So I'm happy to make that available, and you'll find it all on my website at ChristyLargent.com. And that's kind of why I've taken a break from my podcast for a while, because it was an interview format and I loved it, but the technical part of it was really sucking me dry. So I didn't have any energy left for the things that I was really good at.
Sure.
So I'm going to I think I'm going to relaunch that podcast because I love doing it. I love that people all over the world get to listen. And this time it's going to be focused on opportunity mindset.
Perfect.
So,
perfect. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being here. And
oh,
so awesome.
My pleasure. Thank you, Claire. It's such a treat to be a part of it. I'm just so excited to be, like I said, anything that you have anything to do with, I want to be a part of it. You're so awesome. So thank you.
Thank you.